Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. My name is Mpho and I've got Tim Delace here with me. Tim, how are you doing? Lots of cricket on the go. We've got West Indies putting up a valiant fight. Well, it's actually the only one. And then also there's a lot of county cricket happening as well. But how are you doing?
All good, dude, all good. There's actually a bit of a lull for me because I'm not a massive T20 fan. There's a lot of T20 stuff going on post World Cup. But all good, dude, all good.
Yes, that's amazing. Yeah, I saw that Tabrez and Riley Rousseau won the Lanka Premier League, which is another T20 league. And they did well there, but congratulations to them on that win. But today, Tim, as we do, we're sitting in the middle of the off season, slash preseason's about to start soon. And so we've got our conversation with a person who's going to be involved in the new season, a player who's going to be a part and parcel of the new season. So it'd be great to have a conversation around there. But before we do anything, please do follow us on X, subscribe to the Full Quota podcast on the YouTube channel, and also follow the Full Quota podcast on Apple and Spotify. Following and subscribing on YouTube will let you know when we go live, like we are right now, and you can send through some of your comments to our guest. Tim, I'm going to let you do the honors and introduce our guest.
Yes, somebody I've been wanting to get on since he's moved to the Dolphins. Somebody who I think has got a very, very bright future and has had a very interesting. We talk a lot about pipeline in this podcast and how important pipelines are. And once you get to know the story of this fellow, the pipeline is just the sort of pipeline that we need players to come through. So for a whole range of reasons, he's doing fantastically well since the restructuring. He's averaged over 40 in that time. So it's Dolphins opener Tshepang Dithole.
I'll help you there, Tim. It's Tshepang Dithole, Dolphins opener.
Apologies.
Hi, Tshepang, how are you?
How's it, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yes, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while, Tshepang. I think you had quite you have quite a different career to many cricketers, and it was really interesting for us to get a view into how your journey and everything else. And obviously, the last season you were also very important, and you contributed to your team with runs across the formats, which is something that is really, really good as well. So I think our first question, we ask everyone this question, is how did you get into the game of cricket? How were you introduced to this game?
I think it was early primary years. I think grade 2. It sort of like got introduced in Atwalang Primary School. That's in Krugersdorp, Joburg. It was grade 2. Then I started playing it. I played it concurrently with soccer. But I just continued with cricket. I didn't know anybody who played it before me. But once I started playing at the age of, at grade 2 and 3, then I saw more people going to practice, older people. That's when I got to know other people. I didn't know of the sport before grade 2.
Yes, that's an interesting one. So you didn't know anyone. You then picked up this game in grade 2, and you were introduced to it. How did you keep going? Did you just realize, oh no, I'm good at this, right? I can hit this ball.
I don't know, because I was a spinner and I didn't really like bowling because I was getting hit. And as a young cricketer, I was afraid of the hard ball, so whenever I would get hit, I'll cry. To answer the question how I kept going, I don't know, my man. But obviously the love for cricket obviously grew. And then after high school, I thought that was it for me. So I went to Fort Hare to go and study. I thought I was just going to go to the office. after that. And then Grant Morgan called me, and then I started professionally, or semi-professional.
Okay.
Before you made that step up to Forte, and you have spoken elsewhere about the importance of certain individuals once you became a semi-professional cricketer. But before that jump to that sort of level of cricket, was there anybody else that kept you going? You said you're not sure how you kept going. Was there any individual that said, you know what, you're actually quite good at this. Keep at it.
Yeah, there was you guys might know him, Enoch Nkwe.
Yes. Yeah, director
Yes,
of cricket.
yeah. so yeah, so throughout primary I played for my primary school, and then high school there was no cricket. Not even, it was only soccer, but there was no ground for soccer. So it was just netball. The only facility there was netball. So I played a lot of club cricket to get into the provincial side. I remember this one day, Enoch came to Kagiso. So I'm from Kagiso.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were just coming to scout. And then he saw me, I think I was 14, 15. And then he saw me, and then I can't remember what happened exactly that day, but I know that I met him, and he was one of the guys from the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the relationship started there. And then as I continued to play club cricket, Sunday leagues, then I got recognized to go and play for Gauteng under 17. That was my first ever cricket tournament, provincial tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I was in grade 11 by then. And then I went again the following year, again under 17. And then I was batsman of the tournament. And then that's when things started getting serious from Enoch's point of view, in terms of training, getting me involved with other teams. Then I made the Lions Cubs, under 19 Cubs team. Yeah, 2010, 2011. So to answer your questions, he was the guy that kept me going through training, mentoring. Yeah.
Yes. For all those who don't know, Kagiso is a township in the west part of Gauteng, so Krugersdorp area, going that side. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there. But yeah, no, I've got family that side, but it's been a while. That under
Nice.
17 tournament that you speak of, that brought you into like the first formal, how was your experience of that? Obviously, you're coming up against these kids from all these schools who've been playing cricket their entire lives, and when you are coming from a township, and
Yeah.
you know it's your first experience in all of in this format.
Yeah. A lot of nerves. I think I would be honest with myself and say that tournament I was nowhere, if that's a word. I was nowhere. Emotions had me. I was overwhelmed about how actually good these kids are. I wasn't aware of the cricket equipment. So I did not focus on my own game. I was just admiring all these things around me. I didn't actually do well, but then following year, I worked with Enoch, and then there was just a lot of improvement.
A lot of improvement.
Yeah.
Okay. that's good. Yes, Tim?
How important do you think for your general grounding before you became a professional cricket was all of this? Was all of these experiences? You talk about under 17 week playing Sunday League cricket. So you're playing a lot of cricket at a young age across the different experiencing, adult cricket, I would imagine on a Sunday League against adults. So How important was that for your general grounding for when you eventually made it?
It was very important. Obviously, when I started playing the Sunday leagues, I played with a lot of older guys. I was probably one or two. There was one or two young players in that whole squad. And to be exposed to such high level of cricket. And back then, Kagiso was playing in the A Premier League of Gauteng, of Johannesburg. So we would play against bowlers or batsmen who were actually playing for the Lions. I remember playing against Ethan O'Reilly, Neil Mackenzie and them, and Vera Peterson, and the list goes on. But obviously, I didn't know them at that stage. As I continued to play cricket, I know, man, I know that guy. I played against him. Oh, this is the Vero. Oh, wow. But that was so good for me, for my growth, to be able to see them back at the young age, play against them. And the guys from my team also, they were actually good. I played with Elton Yankees was also there. Guys like Tebogo Lucy, who's no longer playing, Katlego Muluti, who made SA schools. It was actually good. It was good exposure for me, even though there was no expectations of me doing well at that stage. There was just filling up the team with cricketers that was just above average. But yeah, that was very, very important that I was exposed to that at the early age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously moving out of those of that and going into cabs and then making your way into the ranks, into the main team and domestic cricket, and professional cricket. How was that jump for you in terms of going from now being a person playing on Sundays and playing club cricket and clubs cricket to then saying, actually, I can make a job out of this? How was that for you? And what was that conversation in your head in terms of, can I do this full time? What was it? How did you go about that?
I'll be honest. I did not think I could make cricket a job. Without telling too much, but I had a coach who told me that, I must take the bursary, the 4-tier bursary, and go get my degree, then go work, because I'm not going to make it in cricket. I'm not going to say the name though. So that as a young kid coming from the rural areas or Ekasi, it got to me. It got to me, and I didn't know anything about mental strength or blocking out the noises or anything. I saw this guy as a coach, as an older guy, and where we come from, you listen to these guys, you respect them, and
we respect our elders,
so forth. Yes. So he said that to me, and it's sort of like it brainwashed me, and I actually listened to him. I went to 4-day with no cricket aspirations. And once I graduated, actually before my final year, 2014, that's when I played SA Rural, and I played 1 T24 border.
Yes.
And then that's where I it sort of like gave me a feeling that maybe it could work, but I didn't put all my eggs in one basket that, you know what, I'm going to make cricket work. Most of my eggs, 99 of my eggs were at the office. I thought I was going to the office after I graduate, and then that would be it.
Wow, massive risk to take.
It's a credit to you. It's a credit to you for taking on those challenges, having those things said to you, and to keep going on. It's a huge credit to you, which is why I actually wanted you on, because I knew your story was different. It wasn't it wasn't straight from school right through to professional cricket. I have come across an interview that you did a few years ago about that importance of going to 4-day and the individuals involved in there to then take you to that next step. Obviously, one of them is Mpho and Tim, former Protea. Talk to us about his influence in your cricket career at that point.
Yeah, I had a very good 3 years at Forte. I have to thank Mfuneko for that. I'm going to thank Mfuneko, Greg Hayes, um, Nandile Kiali, and Loiso. Um,
Mm,
those guys were very, very supportive. They knew that I was coming from another province and it's first time living outside Joburg. Um, so there were challenges, but I would usually go to Mfuneko to go and ask um, for whatever opinion about an issue that I have. Um, and he would be honest with me and tell me exactly what it takes for somebody to do well at whatever area in your life. Um, but most of the time we were talking about cricket, so he would tell me exactly what you need to do to be an international cricketer. Um, so just having him as part of my journey, it was a blessing. Um, I don't know if I would have had him if he didn't get injured for South
mm,
Africa, but he made sure that he uses his time then to feed us whatever that we need for the journey that's coming. He didn't hold anything back. He just wanted to see everybody do well, cricket wise and academically. So I just want to give him the flowers while he's still here, then let
mm.
him know that I thank him and Greg Hayes. I thank them both. Most of us black cricketers wouldn't
Yeah.
be where we are now. Obviously, there are some people who come from good schools, and but most of us who were there,
Mm,
um, we had talent, but we were not from good schools, and they made sure that they give us um, facilities and coaching that's close to what those guys have outside. Um,
yeah.
Once in a while, they would bring Shukri Conrad, which is a protest coach now. They would bring Victor
That's amazing.
Pitang. They would bring Vincent Barnes. Like maybe every 4 months, those guys will come to Fort Day and they would host coaching clinics. And then, it was just a way to to enable us to compete with the other guys.
Mm. Yeah, I think we're gonna. There's a lot we can unpack around that, but we'll leave it to the end because I think I want to profile you. I don't want to talk about systems and
Okay.
everything else because your career is your career.
Yeah.
And in the time that obviously you've now played for Border, you've done all of these, you're now seeing the bit of the professionalism, right? That's around about 2014, 15. Then obviously you've been through many teams, you're at the Dolphins, you're going through all of these things. And it's not necessarily obviously the main first class team. You're there and thereabouts, you're learning what at that point in time are you telling yourself to keep going? Obviously, you have this thing gummasating in the side,
Mm.
this little degree waiting to go to the office. But how are you keeping yourself going in the times where you're in and out of the team, you are knocking on the door, but you're not, you're getting small opportunities here and there. How did you keep yourself going?
I think once I got exposed to that level,
Mm,
and after a couple of months, obviously of being in and out. Obviously, my first season I was not a first choice player,
mm,
um, but as time went by, then I realized, you know what? I do have a chance here. I do have a chance here, and what I fed off mostly was just observing how people trained, how people played. So one guy that I usually like speaking about is Saro Ervia.
mm-hmm.
Saro, I used to watch him. I used to idolize him. I used to watch him bat, the way he carried himself. Um, I used to just observe Kyle Nipper because I started my
Yes,
first season was at Inland. It was called
yes.
Inland. Now it's Tuskers.
But it
So
was
we had guys
Dolphins
like
franchise, right?
yes, yes,
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
and I didn't know that Inland was under Dolphins. See, those things I didn't know because I'm coming
Mm,
from 4 day and I'm coming to a semi-professional. Now I see this guy, how they carry themselves, how they act, how they train. And then I found out, oh, these guys want to make the first team, the Dolphins team. They don't want to just perform for this team. They want to go up a level. and they never have to come back here. And then I sort of like, okay, now I need to work hard. I need to work as hard as this guy is working, or mirror it in some type of way. Because then he got promoted to the Dolphins. He started playing Dolphins. Yeah. So I just kept feeding off what I was observing from. I think it was very hard for me to speak to myself, but it was better for me to see and then go do.
Okay, that's I like that, because sometimes
Yeah.
a lot of the things you don't get told, but it's about being exposed to the environment and seeing where the goalposts are, because you'll arrive thinking the goalposts are 5 meters away, but they're actually 100 meters away. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
like that answer a lot, because I think it kind of sets the tone, because you don't know, and I think for black players, most of them who come not from the normal route in terms of the elite schools, the idea
Yeah.
of where the end goal is slightly distorted, because A, you're trying to make ends meet, B, you're like, I just want to be here, if
Yeah.
we could do this here, it's fine. But then you're looking at everyone else and they're like, no, but it's Dolphins,
Yeah.
and I like that, because I think it's really important, for even for youngsters to understand that, yes, the goalposts are far, but you need to obviously respect the moment, but also have an eye to the future. That's a really great answer, Tshepang.
Excellent, man.
You spent quite a lot of time in inland, so you became accustomed to the place, the people, the environment. Uh, was there a particular time within that time that you were there that you thought, not necessarily that I'd made it, but I now know what I need to do. I've done all this work. I've come through the system. I've come through the pipeline. I'm now at a place where I know what I need to do to take that next step, to go to the Dolphins if the
Yeah.
Dolphins want me.
Yeah. I think my I think my third season, before the season started, actually. The third season, but before the season started. So I
Mm,
was left out of the Africa Cup squad. Um, and then they traveled to, was it? No, my second year. My second
mhm.
season. Yes, I was left out. And then they traveled to, I think it was Kimberley or something.
I remember
Um,
that Africa Cup, yeah.
yeah, so, and then I went to go, did I have trials? No, I was chosen to go and play with the Dolphins Academy.
Hmm.
Um, it was under 23, maybe. Yeah, under 23. We traveled to Old Soren. It was an academy week, so all franchises academies went there to compete. Um, and then I did very well there. I think I got 200s, 250s, and then like a 30. And then when I got back from the academy, I didn't go to inland. I went straight to the Dolphins. And then that whole month opened my eyes. And then that moment that you ask of, I really do have a chance. I can make it as a cricketer. That's when I started believing. And then in that same year, I went to National Academy. And
Mm,
then the belief just grew. The belief just grew. The workload grew also. And I believe they go in hand. The more you work hard, the more you believe. I think you can't believe if you don't. It's hard to
mm,
believe if you don't put in the work. So as I continue to work harder, smarter, with more information, new voices, um, the belief grew. And then that's when I started believing that, you know what, I can actually make a career out of this.
that's amazing, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's really really interesting. So cricket's a game of inherent failure, right? And I think moving to this season, right, or the more recent seasons, how do you keep yourself going? Being getting out for a duck or a run of poor performances. How do you keep believing through all of that? Because cricket's like 20, 30, 40% good scores, and the rest is things that don't go well.
I think You just have to believe in your skill. I think
Mm,
obviously you got as an opening batter, I know I'm gonna fail.
mm,
I know I'm gonna get a duck somewhere. I just know it. But it's those games where I'm on 30 that I should now realize I need to go big. So that when
mm,
those two ducks come, I'm not averaging 20. Now I'm averaging whatever, 40. So I think it took me a while to understand that. Um where back then I would be on 13, I would play shots, and then I'll get three ducks. All of a sudden I'm averaging 10.
yeah.
Where now a more mature Tshepang is betting, and as soon as I get to 30, I'm more careful. I need to get to that 50. After 50, I must start afresh. Make sure that I
Mm,
get to the 100. So that when those two ducks come, it's not an average of 10, now it's an average of 35. And then I can just restart. But to answer your question, I think my prep over the years has improved, not changed, but improved. Um, and I must credit Imi, Imran Khan, and introducing Bata for that. I think they've really given me the platform to express myself. Um, they've believed in me, and just the whole Dolphins community. It's not just
mm,
them, but the whole Dolphins community. They've really believed in me. I was here 2016 before, and then I left. But for them to show um, belief in me, to show more interest, to have me back here 2021, it was just amazing.
yeah. And yeah, I think we need to thank Dolphins or the Hollywoodbets Dolphins for this interview as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's they really are a great organization.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Tim.
No, I was just going to second it. I was just going to say we've had a lot of Dolphins on the podcast, and the same thing. The the
yeah.
the, the tightness of the unit, the the fondness for Imran Khan is there
Yes.
for everyone that we've interviewed, and that's not by chance. That's not by
Yeah.
chance.
Mm,
Um,
Yeah.
um, you've had this is on a similar trajectory of what Mpho just asked. You've had, I'm sure, a lot of people in your ear telling you to do this, telling you to do that, all the way through your career. You've already alluded to somebody who told you to take up take a job rather than the sport. How challenging has that been to block out the voices that were negative or giving you input that you thought that was perhaps not the right input, and to focus on the good parts and the good input that was going to benefit you in your career?
When I look back, I actually have to thank that guy for saying that to me.
mm,
Um, Number one, I wouldn't have a degree if he didn't say it to me.
yes.
Um, and I wouldn't have learned from that whole situation, knowing what to listen to and what not to listen to. Um, yeah, I think I've had a lot of people. Well, not lately. Lately, I don't have people who misguide me. I think I've grown to know who to have conversations with, um, especially what to take and what not to take. But lately, I'm surrounded by people who want to see me grow, um, who want to see me do well in life, and I think that's the most important part. I don't have a lot of them, but the very handful people that I have, they mean a lot to me, and it's very important that you have people who say the right things to you. Obviously, not the pretty things, but you need
Mm,
somebody to be honest with you, as much as or as transparent as they can, but with your best interest in mind. So it's very hard to find those people, but when you find them, hold on to them.
yes, that's really important.
Very good.
We'll find those people, hold on to them. Tshepang, this last season that's past you, it's one of your best seasons from a runs perspective, and you got 100 and 350s in there, and there's a massive 146 against Inland, which probably was a highlight. Was that your highlight of the season? But the other thing is obviously the change in mindset and how the season went for you. Were things a little bit easier? Were you a lot more mature, as you spoke about earlier, in terms of from a runs perspective?
Yeah, the 100 against Tuskers was not my highlight. The highlight was against the Lions. I think I got 60 in the first innings, then 90 something in the second innings. Yeah, then we declared. I wanted that 100.
Wait, they declared with you on 93?
Yeah, we shook hands. I don't want to talk about it because coach knows that I get very angry when we talk about it, and yeah, whatever happened, happened.
Oh.
But yeah, this season it was different from the season before. I think the season before I was in my bubble.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first full franchise season. When I was with the Dolphins 2016, I didn't even play a single game actually. I only played the 5 momentum games before I was contracted. So that was my first full franchise season. Also a lot of nerves, doubting myself whether I belong or not, doubting myself whether this is the highest point that I'll reach, doubting myself whether is there something next after this. What was going to happen with my career after that, I wasn't sure. But last season, I said, stuff everything. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to spend time in the crease and I'm going to bat long. And coach, I think the planning towards the start of the season from Imi, it was very clear. I was going to open the betting. So my prep towards the start of the season was just discipline. So it was very clear. There was no doubting. I need to open the betting. I need to do all the basics, leave well, just make sure that I condition myself to bet long. And I must give flowers to Dubuzi Bata also for prepping me, spending more time with me than anybody in the nets. He threw a lot of balls at me. I'm sure he threw to me more than anybody else. Yeah, but just to be out there, and also my teammates, because I'm not betting by myself every time there. I'm betting with somebody, and I must give them flowers also for keeping me calm, getting me through the overs. Obviously, we help each other, but just to thank them also for my success. I mean, my success is a team success. And yeah, I think last season I was a bit more hungry. I knew that I could do well because the first season I used to get like 30s also. Starts. And then this season I was like, you know what, I can actually score a 40. So why can't I start afresh when I get to 40? And then, yeah, I just sort of found ways to get 5 runs, get 10 runs, get 2 runs, get 1 run, get off strike. Okay, now you can go for a boundary. It was just the planning was much more clear. Yeah, but I was a bit more patient. I wasn't slogging.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
It's good to know. Obviously, with age, we tend to give ourselves a little bit more patience. So that's amazing. I'm just sorry that they declared with you on 93. I thought it was like a team decision because we were all standing there going, okay. But yeah, sorry, man. They should have just given you one more over to hit a 6.
Exactly. Or give me a warning before T. Give me a warning. We're gonna declare. Oh God.
My word. Hey, look, 93 not out. Helps the average. Can't complain.
Yeah. It does, bro. It does.
Mm-hmm. Tim?
are you a goal setter? At the start of every season, do you set yourself goals? Do you set yourself things you want to achieve, or are you more of a take it each day as it comes and see what happens on the day? How would you describe yourself?
I would say I wouldn't write down my goals, but I know that I want to get hundreds. So even now, I know that I need to get hundreds. Like I wouldn't write down my goal, make the SAA side against Sri Lanka. But I know at the back of my head, I need to prep well so that if I'm chosen for September, I'm ready.
Okay.
I don't remember writing down goals, but after a match, I would write down what I thought I could have done better, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do that at the end of the season?
No,
Because I think my question would be is what would you want to improve coming into the new season? Do you have obviously you want to make hundreds, which is great. How many do you want this season?
see that I can't put a number to it.
Okay.
As
Just as
many
many
as
as
they,
you can.
as many as I can. I normally write down my opinions about how the game went. Um, Either if today is day 3 and I've already betted twice, then I might as well write down.
Mm,
Um, if tomorrow's day 4 and I'm gonna finish betting, then I'm come back home after a couple of beers, then I wouldn't write. I would wait for the next 2 days and I'll write it down.
okay.
Yeah. But the goals are to get hundreds. To get hundreds,
Mhm.
hundreds,
Indeed,
hundreds.
indeed, indeed.
Obviously we go through um not KPIs. You know, when you have a meeting with coach and then they tell you they
Mm,
expect every batsman to average 40. So that's your goal. The coach has already told you what you need to do. But yeah, I'm sure every batsman wants a lot of hundreds.
Yeah. Well, you achieved that last season. You averaged 41. Um, you've experienced both semi-professional and professional setup. You've experienced the different structures that we've brought in. You are now a part of the new structure. You've scored 903 runs at an average of 41 within this new structure. What is your overall thoughts on the new structure domestically? You know, the 2 division system. What are your overall thoughts of it?
I think it's good. I think especially the promotion and relegation part. I
yeah.
quite I, I quite enjoy that. I think it gives not just us goals, but the teams below us goals to come to Div 1 and compete.
Mm,
Where before Tuskers would never play against Dolphins.
yeah.
And then last year it happened.
And then you scored lots of runs against them. So
Yeah. So yeah, so I think it's good. I think it's good for South Africa. Um and already I've spoken to a couple of guys in Div 2, and they have told me that the standard of Div 2 has definitely improved from when I was there. And that's ultimately what you want. You want the system to be always. You want players to always be challenged. You want player skills to be higher. Um, yeah, I think the new structure is good. Obviously, you can never make everybody happy. People will always find loopholes and try to say, okay, we're not getting paid enough, but we're not talking about that. But I'm happy that um, other teams can work harder and should be working harder to come and compete with us.
yeah, no, that's true. And
Indeed,
I think
indeed.
we've spoken to a lot of people about this and they speak of that and the opportunity. And previously there wasn't an opportunity for guys who were in and around the main franchise teams to get opportunity of game time. Division 2 provides that, and that's
Yes,
important because you need games under the belt. You need a CV. You need to show that
yes,
there's runs. Whereas, you know it becomes a lot more subjective if you are sitting there on the outskirts and nobody knows. Someone knows of your talent, but obviously there's no runs that you can look at and say, hey, he scored against this, he scored to this. So I
Yeah.
think that's quite important. Yeah, speaking about obviously obviously you say you don't have obviously aspirations, but obviously post cricket, do you have plans, ideas that you're thinking of wanting to do in terms of, once you let go of the gloves? Not, well, you are a wicketkeeper, but once you hang it all up, well, what are you thinking? What's the plan for the future?
I haven't thought about the actual job, but
Mm,
my plans are I'll do my honors next year. I think it's been a long time coming. I'll do my honors. If I can also do like a PGCE certificate for teaching,
mm,
that will be good. And look, the the easiest way that I could take is to go to a school, coach and teach. Um, but
mm.
that's not where I would put a ceiling over my head. I wouldn't just say, okay, this is it for me. Um, Obviously, I do wanna use my degree as much as I can. Um, but I haven't given the actual,
Okay.
I haven't thought of the actual job
It's a long
just
way
yet.
away, man.
Whether it's at the like it's a serious corporate business. Um, that would be nice also. Whether it's at CSA, I'm targeting them also.
Okay.
Um, just to help with, obviously my journey speaks for itself in terms of the
Mm,
pipeline, and I can go back to Joburg and help with the pipeline. I've already um spoken to Jono. Well, not thoroughly, but I've told him that, you know what, when I'm done, I actually do want to come back home and work here.
mm.
But we haven't got deeper into exactly what.
Okay.
Um, but I'm not
That's
gonna
fine.
play cricket in Joburg.
Okay. Um, I think your
Just
journey speaks for itself, but I think
yeah.
one of the key things we wanted to talk to you about was being a Black African batter in the system. Many people think you guys are unicorns, um, but you're not. And I'm a believer in the interventions, and you spoke about the interventions you had at Fort Hare, in terms of being able to get you guys to that level. What are some of the challenges that Black African batters face? Because obviously we don't see a lot of them in the starting 11. There's always one or two, but it's not representative of the country. But also coming from the township, there's that level of setback that we need to try and overcome. But yeah, what are the challenges for a Black African batter? Because 2027 is around the corner, and I think we're starting to panic.
Yeah. I'll just speak
Mm,
from what I can't speak for other people. Um, I think we firstly is scarcity of information. Um, it's not common you find somebody who's willing to share um like cricket information that's like at the highest level. Um, I'll make an example. Growing up, coaches used to say to me, "Get your head straight," you know, and
mm,
and then and then 10 years later, I get to the Dolphins, and Emu would say the easiest way to get your head straight is to drop your front shoulder. Um, and Neil McKenzie would say, I think of my hip, my back hip. I try to raise my back hip. That way, it keeps my head um,
mm,
engaged. It's just different ways to say, get your head straight. I think scarcity of information is number one.
mm-hmm,
Um, Number two, I would say, because of the differences, obviously, between us and white people, um, I hope I don't get grilled for this. I think sometimes you find coaches don't make it easy for you to ask questions. They would say to you, if you want to know something, just ask questions, but they don't create that environment where
Mm,
it's safer for you to ask the same questions as a white batsman.
mm,
That's what I felt. That's what I felt going to these different teams and camps. Um, it's not what it looks like most often. Um,
mm,
you yeah you just don't get the welcoming feeling that you know what I can really ask whatever that I can here. I can go to wherever that I want to for throws. It's not the same. But yeah, I don't want to be looking for things that are not there. But those are the two main reasons
mm,
or challenges that I found in my career. Um, and maybe the onus is on me to to even though that is happening and say, okay, well, stuff that I'm still going to ask the question.
mm.
Um, whether I get embarrassed or not, or I get answered or not. Um, yeah, it's
Yeah. Do you think we
and
need?
the voice. The third one is the
Yeah.
voice. You sometimes you get put in situations where you're not comfortable.
Mm,
Um, you get told you're betting eight, but you
mm-hmm.
know that the number eight better. You don't have
Yeah.
a voice. Like it's like be grateful you in the team. Um,
Mm,
where they know what's in the best interest of a white batsman. This guy opens the betting, so he needs to open. Where you can be meant to bet number five, and then situation of the game comes, and then you're not backed enough to bat five, so now you get shifted down. It has happened with so many Black African players. Even when I
mm,
was young, I used to see it forehand that this guy gets shifted down and down and down, and then he ends up betting nine. It happened to me also.
mm.
Um, T20 competition, that TKO T20 3 years ago in Bloom, bubble
Yes.
one. Was it
Yeah.
a bubble? Yes, the bubble
Mm,
one. Um, it was so obvious that I was in the team to be a wicket keeper.
yeah.
Um, and I was not okay with that. And I think everybody um sort of like recognized it. Um, and then you get these like he's a cancer, he's a what, but uh, I don't have a voice in this team. I'm not doing what I've been training to do. I'm betting
Mm,
outside my skill. And then I should be okay with that. We are expected to be strong and not say anything. Um, but yeah, what happened in that TKO T20? I just kept shifting down, shifting down, shifting down, and that was the first tournament of the season. So
mm,
if I didn't get my head right, if I didn't talk to Atima Porter about because he was assistant coach, and he said, "Boss, this is just the first tournament. There's two more tournaments, or formats. There's two more formats, and you can't just throw away your season like that." Um, and by then, I was already talking to Mpumalanga. So this is when I was playing for Tuskers. I was talking to
mm,
Mpumalanga because Mbasa was coach there, and he wanted me, and he said, "Yes, I will bet up the order," and I was considering it. And then the longer format came, and then RT was close to the coach and he spoke to the coach that, what, this guy is opening better. And then I opened and then, yeah, I think I was averaging like 60. That's when I got the Dolphins contract.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, look. I thank you for your honesty, and I think that's really important. And I think from your first-hand experience, people can figure out what solutions there needs to be
Yeah.
around that. But I know that you also want to work on the pipeline, so there's a whole lot of things. Because I think for me is we need voices, we need people to
Yeah.
speak, to
Yeah.
fight for the players in the system, right?
Yeah.
My point. going for grassroots is a win, and you always should do that. But you also need to take care of the players in the system because they're in there. They don't have an
Yeah.
advocate, and it's there's a lot of challenges that they meet, and CSA I think is not doing much, but they're trying. There's camps, there's
Mhm.
things to try and help. But yeah, sometimes you need to actually have like an active intervention and do things just for Black African batters or players, just to
Yes.
help them along the way. The ability to be like have a workshop where guys will be like, just ask any question, like the whole get your
Mm.
head straight thing.
Mm.
There's many different ways for you to do that, right? And it
Yes.
depends on what
Yes.
type of style batter you are, things like that. And
Yeah.
I think if you've articulated yourself very well. Um, Tim, do you have one last question?
I just have one more, and it's going to be centered around which just elaborated on. What would you tell 16-year-old yourself, right? If you're looking back, what would you tell a 16-year-old you where you are and how to get where you are now?
I think it's what we hear on an everyday basis. Block out the noise. Block out the noise.
Mm,
Know what you want, and go for it. I think it's when things are not clear. It's when you don't know what you want or your plans are not clear that you find yourself listening to people that you shouldn't be listening to. Um, so I can't I can't stress that any further. I think just choose who you listen to. Choose who
yeah.
you and be careful of how you speak to yourself. I think also, as much as that coach said whatever that he wanted to say to me, I probably
Mm,
said the same thing to myself 10 times more.
exactly. Yeah.
So
Block.
yeah, so maybe just as much as you want to block out the noise, be careful of how you speak with yourself because
Yeah. I
that
think the other
voice
one
is
is
powerful.
I
Yeah,
think what the one other thing, because my question was, what would you tell a boy in the township in your
Mm,
position? Yes, and I think my one would be dream big. The world is
yeah,
very big, and
yeah,
and everything can come through. And that for me is for you, Tshepang, to dream big,
yeah,
to see big things. We don't want you to stop at 146. We want you to go for double century next season. I support the Lions. I know it's your home franchise. I'd like for you to
yeah.
beat us, like you were beating us, you know. And
Mm,
I wish you all the best. The one thing I know about this podcast is whoever comes on this podcast somehow, somewhere lands up in a Proteas call up. So I wish you all the best, and I look forward to having you back on in your Proteas gear because that's where you're headed, my man. Great
yeah.
season
thank you, my
last
man.
year. All the best for this year. I don't support the Dolphins, but I'll support. I'll be supporting you. We secretly behind going, yeah, keep scoring runs, my man. So thank you for your time,
Appreciate
and yeah, really do appreciate it. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Tshepang.
appreciate
Thanks
it,
very
guys.
much.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, my man. Keep well. Take care, boy.
Cheers.
Cheers. And that's Tshepang Dithole, opening batter for the Dolphins. And thank you to the Dolphins for helping us organize this meeting. It was really awesome. Really enjoy listening to people from different teams around the league. And as we gear up to August is around the corner. Well, I think they're starting in September. We actually haven't seen. There's another. We need to get CSA on here. We need times. We need dates. But yeah, what do you make of that, Tim? Just to close it out before we go.
No, it was. I kind of knew, not all of it. I kind of knew the large part of his story, which is why I wanted
Mm,
him on. Not because he's a dolphin. Yes, we've got a lot of dolphins on. Yeah, we know. Um, but it was his story from the township, making it into where he is now. That was what was interested me. That's what I hope will interest watchers and listeners to the podcast. It was very, very interesting, and I'm glad he spoke so eloquently about his challenges and battles that
mm.
he's faced throughout his career. No, it was excellent. It was really good.
Really, really great interview. And as Elu Mazai says on on YouTube. CSA's policies are really great and respect it a lot, and we need a more native African players. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, hopefully Tshepang plays for SA in the near future. Yeah, and he's one of the guys we were looking at him last season. And there's a few other Black African batters around the league who had a breakthrough season last year. And yeah, he's made a claim in a very big franchise, and he's a really important part of that franchise. So yeah, wish him all the best. And yeah, we'll be back. So that's why. Here's the thing, right? On YouTube, like and subscribe. Why? Because I don't know when we'll be back. We might have emergency podcasts. We're busy organizing interviews. And so for you to know when we go live, you need to like and subscribe. Also onto Twitter, right? Also follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so you know that when we have these interviews, you are there and you're asking questions. You can ask questions of everyone. We don't hold back, and essentially that's what it is, right? Like and subscribe on YouTube. Thank you for all the support, and also Apple Podcast, Spotify for the audio people. This is a great interview, and please do share it as wide as possible because yeah, Tshepang's a man with his head focusing on the right things, and that's amazing. Thank you again to the Dolphins. Thanks, Tim, and to everyone. It's goodbye and lesale kakahiso.